So
Sure is.
this week I am reviewing Nioh 2. We've reviewed Nioh 1 in the past,
That's true.
and I was so in love with it that I made sure when it came out on PC that I picked up Nioh 2. This game it's a sequel, but it's actually technically a prequel to the
Okay,
original
okay.
Nioh game.
I see you. I see you.
And it I didn't think that Nioh could be improved upon until I played Nioh 2. Honestly, the in fact I was even a little bit discouraged by the fact that you didn't have like a set protagonist. You created your own character, which I get some people are into that, but I really liked, the fact that the first game did a really good job of following like Japanese history and stuff with all this like fantastical shit jammed into it, and had like historical characters. And so I was disappointed to see that we weren't going to be playing as a historical character. But the way they did it, I think, was really, really well done. And they also managed to still, still continue the story in reverse from the original, right? Like it adds on to the story, as a good prequel should. And gives you all the background that you would want going on. Not the main character from the first one, obviously, but all the supporting characters from the first one, which is very cool. Definitely following kind of like the story of Nobunaga and Hideyoshi, which is they're
Good shit.
obviously the most important figures, or two of the most important figures in the Sengoku period, the Warring States period in Japan. Kind of kicked that shenanigans off. So really awesome. But then on top of that, like on top of the story beats being very cool and being very well done, in fact, I think the story is much easier to follow in this one because there's like a cutscene almost every mission. There's it's just like it's an easier to follow story than Nioh 1. Nioh 1's a little convoluted. It's a little more difficult to follow, and especially because of the difficulty of the game, you end up playing the same level so often that you forget what's going on in the story. And when you finally get to the end of that,
that's really frustrating.
I hate that.
But the nice thing
Yeah.
is going from Nioh 1 to Nioh 2, you're already ready for that, right? You're already used to the play style.
Okay, I see.
That's fair.
On top of that, they give you a bunch of tools to improve your combat, right? Like there's more weapons, there's better skill trees. There's what else? They changed the way that your super or your alt works, which that's actually one of the changes that I'm not super keen on, but it's way more customizable. And then one of the probably the coolest change is like they kind of implement almost like a Pokemon kind of aspect to it, where you can collect the souls of the demons that you defeat and then use them in combat as long as you have enough like magic to do so, which is really
That's
cool.
really neat.
That's pretty dope.
It's really cool. So like they've done everything that you need to do to make a successful sequel plus some. So this was just a really easy game for me to jump into and enjoy and love, to be honest. And I actually, again, I didn't expect this to happen, but I like this game more than the first one. Like I love this game. And this is so far, I realized this game didn't come out this year. Technically it did on PC. It came out in February on PC, which is when I played through this. So it's my game of the year so far. Now at the end of the year, we're not going to count that because technically this game came out in March of 2020 on the PS4, but the PC release was February of this year. So, but god damn, is it fucking good? It is fucking good. Let's go through just the points, the talking points we normally do. What did I like about the game? Well, like I said before, just like their ability to really improve on every aspect of what made the first one good. Just made this such a fucking enjoyable experience. What did I not like about the game? So, The one thing that I didn't like about this game that I didn't even really notice about it until actually playing the new, like the demo for the new Final Fantasy game, that is in this same engine,
Oh.
and that is that it's the same engine as the first one, which is not necessarily a problem, but it's kind of an aging engine. You know, it
Okay.
doesn't look
What
as
engine is
good.
it?
Huh?
What engine is it?
I'm pretty sure it's like an improved version of the Ninja Gaiden engine.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
That is old.
So like it is, yeah, it's not a new engine. Oh, there, I'm big.
He's a big boy.
um, anyway, I must have just died in the gameplay. Yeah, uh so that was, I think, retrospectively speaking, one of the things I don't like about the game. But as far as like as I was playing it, I couldn't even really name a thing that I didn't really like about the game. Maybe that the new skill trees are a little convoluted, a little hard to follow, but they're still an improvement on the original one, so I can't be mad about that.
True,
Admittedly, building skill trees is one of the most difficult parts of character and game development design.
It's gotta be, yeah.
Like
yeah.
Gears Tactics is giving us the same problem. We cannot follow it, but
Yeah.
like once we get a handle on a specific character, it starts to make a little bit of sense.
Yeah. Yeah, and figuring out what builds and stuff, that's never really been my thing, but it is kind of fun. And there's like a million different, like, really cool builds you can do in this game, which is cool. Dude, another thing they added to this game, which is like such a nice touch that they didn't have to add and they did, and it's cool, is you've got living weapons. You've got these weapons that are possessed by demons, and they'll talk to you. They'll talk to you as you're like killing stuff. And they'll also, like, you know, once they've reached a certain point, you'll get like this radiance on your weapons, and they'll like do extra damage and stuff like that. Like, it's really cool. Yeah,
That's
pretty sick.
yeah. Chamali was really into those. Our producer, he really liked those weapons. They're very cool. Let's see. How's the gameplay? Is it fun? Of course it is. It's definitely like a Souls-like, but with kind of more of like a Ninja Gaiden, more crisp combat than the typical kind of like sluggish Souls combat. How is the art? It's fantastic, though a little bit aged. That's kind of one of the problems. But the aesthetic of the game is gorgeous. Like, you know, it is really a great looking game. It's, you know, in feudal Japan. Everything's got like that cool, like, you know, like yokai fucking like Japanese mythology vibe to it. A little bit dark, you know. But then there's always like, dude, there's parts of the games where you'll be in like this beautiful sunny field and everything's golden and beautiful. Like, it looks great. So, you know, the art is good, though a little bit aged. How's the music? Music's good. Again, kind of like, I'm pretty sure I felt the same way about the first one. There's not necessarily like anything that there's not like a Mario theme. You know what I'm saying? Like that's like running through my head. But it's super appropriate for the setting, right? Like anytime you're in an intense battle, you've got like good intense battle music that like gets you hyped up for what you're doing. And, you know, in other times it's a little more subdued. It's good enough not to notice, I guess, is what I'm saying. And it certainly isn't bad. And it does a good job of setting the tone, you know. What were you saying, Zach?
I said that's really high praise. That's what you'd expect out of that kind of game.
Yeah, exactly. I think so too. Sound design is good, though I'm trying to think if there's like any difference in like the sound from the original, as far as like the sounds the weapons make and things like that, the sounds that the enemies make, which, not that you need to change them. And these games did come out fairly close together. There's only like a year or two apart, you know, in these two games. So, you know, I wouldn't say that's a criticism per se, that the sound wasn't necessarily improved from the first one, but you know, it just wasn't, to my knowledge.
Nioh came out in 2017.
Okay, you're right. Okay, 3-year gap. So yeah, you would think in 3 years, even though like 3 years is not enough time to build a whole new engine, but there's certain like quality of life stuff that you could change, which they did as far as like the combat and stuff was concerned, right? Like very much so. But did they really change any of the sound design? No. Is that a problem? Was the sound design bad to begin with? No, it wasn't. So like,
it's all good.
yeah. Let's see. How long did it take me to beat? You could probably beat this game like just the main story. I still haven't beaten all of the expansions, which are very good, by the way. The expansions are really fucking good, just like the first one. But it probably took me 30 hours, and that's a guess. Honestly, I beat this back in, February or March, and so it's hard for me to say how long it actually took me to beat the main story. But it's not super long. It's not super short. I think it's around. It might be a little longer than the first one, which is good. That's a good thing, I think. Usually you get a sequel, especially one that came out as soon after the original did. I know 3 years isn't that soon, but you would think a lot of times it's a shorter game, like if someone's half-assing it, and that's not the case here.
Paul, I do have a quick fact check for you. Team Ninja did for Nioh 1 did use the same engine that they used on Ninja Gaiden. They did actually make a new one for Nioh 2 based on Dynasty Warriors 9.
Interesting.
Yep.
Dynasty Warriors 9. What a interesting one to pick.
Damn.
That's also strange to me, God, because it feels so goddamn like the same engine.
I mean, obviously they retailed it completely, so it's still
my
very
guess
closely.
is what they did was they took the Ninja Gaiden engine and they made Nioh, right? Made some tweaks to it for Nioh. Then they took that engine, made some tweaks to it for Dynasty Warriors 9, and then took that engine and made tweaks to it for.
What I'm reading is a lot of bouncing back and forth.
Yeah. Interesting.
Okay, yeah. I'm being fact checked as well, so it looks like they wanted to go with Dynasty Warriors, but then they ended up retooling and continuing to improve and a whole bunch of other stuff.
Gotcha.
So it looks like these are facts.
Once again, you come to our channel for made up facts about video games.
Yep.
Well,
where the facts are made up and the points don't matter.
We quickly Google the answers and have as much info as you do.
Jamali wasn't getting me an answer fast enough, so I took it into my own hands, and then I got it wrong.
I dig. I respect it anyway. I appreciate the try there. Yeah, and I wasn't looking at the live notes either, so it's all good. Where were we? Schling ding 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 ding. So was the game difficult? Absolutely, but not necessarily in a bad way. I would say there's probably maybe 2 bosses in the game that are absurdly difficult that I don't feel good about. Like, there's not really a good way to beat them without cheesing the fuck out of them, which still isn't easy to do. They're kind of unfair bosses, which I think is a design flaw in games like this. The one thing that can be said about like the Souls games is just about every one of the bosses like has a critical weakness, has a like a unique pattern that you can figure out at some point that will allow you to defeat that boss. And most of the bosses in the Nioh games operate the same way, with a few exceptions, and like that's kind of a bummer, but not game breaking. It doesn't ruin it. I know you probably see me dying a million times.
I was about to say this video is just you dying. I feel like
yeah. We'll skip ahead a little bit.
It's fun.
I beat that guy eventually. I promise.
Probably eventually.
Yes, you did.
Anyway, but that's the thing. I mean, that's how these games are. You die a lot. You go in there, you die a lot. You figure shit out. Like that's the whole point of the game. And that's what's enjoyable about them, I would say. Would I play a sequel? Absolutely. This is the sequel, obviously, to the first one. I don't believe they're gonna make one. They said, I saw a thing that said that the story is over. Yeah,
Wow.
I could be wrong, but like,
that's
I-
not
I-
exactly
killing
what they
it.
said. They basically said they wanted to take a break from Neo and that this continuity was over. They didn't rule out like making a new Neo game that takes
Right.
place in a totally different continuity, but
And is a Neo.
but yeah, I mean they're going on right now. They're working on that Final Fantasy game, so
Ooh.
which I really think they need to like. I thought it was good, the demo that I played, but they need to really improve the engine. I think it feels aged, you know. So we'll see what they do with that. But yeah, all around impression. I don't remember what score I gave the original. But I would
2.
give this a solid, 0.5 more than I gave the original. I'm
Oh,
gonna
okay.
say a 9.5 on this one. I know that's a really high score. I know I'm like
Super
really
high.
against giving everything too high of a score right now, and I might have given the original a 9.5. But like that was before I really changed my philosophy on game scoring.
Yeah, only
But,
Nintendo games get over 9.
But
have to-
I would say the original is a solid 9. This is a solid 9.5. Like it's a solid 9.5.
Nice.
You know what might be kind of
That's
cool
good.
is if we went back through all the stuff we reviewed before our scale
Yeah.
and actually put it together. Like, no, this game is actually this number based on what we're actually writing down.
Yeah. Yeah,
That might
maybe
be a
we
cool
should.
episode for
Yeah,
us at some point
yeah.
in the
Maybe we
future.
could do that as like a end of the year kind of thing. Like go back over like our reviews and kind of like rehash
Adjust
them
for
a little
inflation.
bit. Adjust for
Yeah.
inflation. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. So final note on that: is the game worth buying at the current full price or wait for a sale? Skip. Here's the thing. Yes, I think it's worth buying at full price, but this goes on sale like twice a year. So if you're interested and you can wait for it to be on sale, highly recommend doing it. And like right now, you can get, if you haven't played either of the games, you've got like the definitive edition or whatever on PC and PS5 and PS4, right? So you could get both of these games for like 25-30 bucks, I want to say, when it goes on sale, which is a
That's not
fucking
bad.
steal, and it's super worth it. So what I would say, if you're interested in playing these games, just keep an eye out for a sale. If you can wait, if you can't wait, go buy it full price. It's still worth it, especially the definitive edition. It's like 55 bucks or 60 bucks for both of these games. Fucking, it's fantastic. But it does go on sale like twice a year. So, but that wraps it up. 9.5, damn near perfect game. Fucking enjoy it. That's Nioh
Awesome.
2.
And it's worth noting that
And-
Paul had a lot of fun playing it too. It was very
yeah.
clear watching. you play
Especially,
it.
oh, you know what I
Digging
didn't
it.
mention? Probably the best improvement of Nioh 2 in general is the co-op. The co-op is incredible.
Oh, yeah.
The co-op, it's such a huge improvement from the first one. The first one is very similar to Dark Souls. You have to, drop your stupid thing on the ground, and if everyone dies, it fucks up everything for everyone, and you got to invite these ghosty bullshits, and it sucks. And you can also only have one person in at a time until like you get to the end game. There's like there's an end game area where you can get multiple homies with you. In this, from the jump, you can do like these, I forget what it's called, but it's basically like an adventure mode where you can just go into every single mission, like chronologically or whatever, with two homies, like from the jump. And
so good.
you're not like locked out from anything. As long as you're progressing through the game together, you're going to be unlocking those next levels. In the previous one also, you had to like have beaten that level first before you could go back and help out a homie, right? So like if I was playing with Merktool or Chamali and I needed help on a level, they would have had to have beaten that level before I did to be able to come in and help me with it.
Yeah, I remember
you know?
that.
So that's not the case in this.
Souls.
You can just team up from the jump. It's very cool. So like that's probably the best improvement overall, I would say. But yeah, still sticking with that score, 9.5. It's incredible. Definitely do what you can to check out this game if you like this style of, very brutal, very meticulous and difficult Souls-like action.
I.e., if you're not me.
Yeah.
I like it sometimes.
Yeah, I do too. But
Anyway, that is it. Let's switch back.